Welcome to Chaos Cortec. Hey guys, welcome back. It's Friday, and you know what that means. It's time for another Wally update. Before we get into it, yes, I cut my finger using a box cutter doing some stuff for my 3D printer, so always make sure you guys practice safe 3D printing. 3D printing sex joke, check. Okay guys, well, what do I have in store for you this week? This week, I mostly focused on Wally's head and neck areas. Now, I'll talk about it a little bit when I get in there, but I made some discoveries. His head doesn't move quite the way I thought it did. It was pretty obvious. I don't know why I missed it, but whatever. And there's actually very little reference material out there to the back of Wally's head. You can see it from the sides, but as far as the actual back and the mechanics where his neck attaches, there's very little images out there. And I looked up some videos online and found some that kind of worked, but working with 3D models from like movies and games and stuff, it's not always consistent. They can use several different models to do various specific things, and so not all of the images you find, or even just watching the same movie, not all the references in there are always going to be the same physical object or whatever they have in there. So it can be kind of difficult. You kind of just have to pick one and roll with it. But I think I finally got it to a pretty good place. So let's go take a look at what I've got done. Okay, guys, here we have the head and neck over here. So let's take a look at what we've got. Here you can see the basic shapes for his head. And this is what I've got for the back. And now, like I said in the intro of the video, there is not a lot of reference material for what is sort of happening back here. So this might not be super accurate, but it's close and you won't really be able to tell. So if I make those a hole, you can kind of see what's going on in the middle there. And basically he's got this like weird thing down here, which I'm assuming allows his head to kind of focus when he moves his eyes in and out. And then back here is actually where it connects to the neck. And then this will obviously rotate the whole thing. So I think that is pretty good. I'll change these back to multicolor. So, and I actually haven't decided what I'm going to do with his eyes yet, because his eyes, obviously, they're like some sort of camera in there, and there's a lens over it. And you can't really print completely clear, transparent things on 3D printers yet. You can get close, but so I haven't decided if I'm just gonna make those black. That wouldn't be very impressive. Otherwise, I could just make them like a hole and put sort of like camera details in the bottom of it. And that'd be fine, but maybe I might even go as far as getting some sort of lens that I could put on there. Maybe I'll just get some like clear acrylic that I can cut out to the size. But I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think I should do there to try and make it look as authentic as possible. I'd love to hear your ideas. So that's all looking good. And then here is the neck. And not too much going on here. There's just this like piston looking thing here with a cylinder that will rotate and move the neck up and down. And now when I make this, I'm just going to have this fixed in place. I'm not going to have the neck moving. And actually where my mistake was that I mentioned earlier in the video is for some reason I thought that his head rotated like this, like the whole neck rotated. But these points are actually anchored to the body. So that doesn't rotate at all. I mean, it'll move up and down, but his head is actually the thing that'll rotate left and right. So from my original designs, I'm just going to have to move the motor up here in the head somewhere to allow him to turn his head. And I think that'll work out pretty good. Now, I had mentioned that I was going to try to make his eyes focus a little bit, but upon watching him a little bit more, he doesn't do that often. I mean, he does, but it's often a part of a bigger sort of movement to give life to him. And ultimately, I think it's just not going to add that much to his overall appeal as a tiny 3D printed robot, you know? So I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm just going to offset them so they're curved up a little bit, and they'll just stay like that. And then his head will rotate left and right. And I think that'll give me what I'm looking for. I just don't think that having the eyes tilting up and down a little bit, because there's not that much movement there. I don't think it's going to be very noticeable, and it's not going to bring that much to the table for the effort that it's going to take to get it working. But I did kind of put it together and stick it on top of the body here so you can kind of see it. And almost immediately with that slight tilt on the head there, because if you notice, this one's completely flat and they kind of just look like binoculars. But up here, I put that tilt in and it almost instantaneously gives it that Wall-E look. So I think that looks pretty good. And as you can see, the it is fixed to his body right there. And then there will be some wires coming out of here and going back over here. And I think that'll work pretty good. So the motor will just mount somewhere up in here and will allow the head just to rotate, and the cords will probably have to run down through the neck back into the body. So like I said in the last video, I don't know how I'm going to make all this easy to print. There's probably not a good way to do it, but I'll try and we'll get there. Might just take a lot of pieces to print. But I'm also going to experiment with pieces that snap together. So hopefully, like with R2, I had to screw a lot of things in place, which works really good for the durability of it. But once again, this hopefully this Wall-E is not going to be subjected to a lot of stressful situations. So I think parts that snap together will work pretty well. I might have a few screws in there. Because like the legs, there's going to be quite a bit of weight put on those legs because it's such a small attachment point. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So I think that looks pretty good, and with the wheel there and the head, it's starting to look like Wall-E. So I think that's pretty good. Let me know what you guys think so far. I appreciate all the feedback. Well, there you go, guys. That's what I've got done on Wall-E so far. And I think next week I'm going to start moving into his body and making that, getting that modeled up, and then his arms, and then it'll just be attaching everything, making it printable, and adding the finishing touches. So it's getting there. Probably just a few more weeks and I will have it ready to go. Well, thank you for joining me, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. I create new 3D printing models and post videos every Monday. And then on Friday, I do updates for my bigger projects. And if you have any questions or just want to show me some love, leave a comment. I try to reply to all of them. And then any shares of this video are greatly appreciated. So thank you for joining me, guys. See you next time.